Ladies and gentlemen, as the unfortunate government shutdown is looming, hopefully there'll be a solution, but we thought we'd do well to check in, as always, with the Secretary of Transportation, because that is one area that is going to be particularly affected. Secretary Pete Buttigieg joins us now. Mr. Secretary, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you. What impact will that have on travel, particularly airline travel, if the government does shut down?
Well, one thing that happens immediately is that air traffic controllers are no longer getting paid. They're required to come into work, but they're not getting paid. Same thing will happen to TSA officers. And as you can imagine, each passing day that's going on causes more stress on them and more stress on the system. Shutdown would also block us from being able to hire controllers. Now, one thing that we know is that we need more air traffic controllers than we have. We have been working urgently to grow and train that workforce, because when we don't have enough controllers on station, the result can be a shortage, and the results of the shortage can be that flights are canceled or delayed because there's just not the controllers to handle that load. We are making good progress in terms of getting more controllers on board, but that progress would be stopped and reversed in the event of a shutdown. People in training would be sent home from the academy in Oklahoma City, and it could take months to recover from even a short shutdown because of how complex that training is and how much it depends on having fresh, recent experience. So these are the kinds of things that are very real world impact. There's no question that they would affect all of us who are depending on the aviation system. And it's completely avoidable. All we need Speaker McCarthy to do and House Republicans to do is honor the deal that the Speaker already made with the President earlier this year. We're urging House Republicans to come to their senses, come to terms, first of all, with each other, and then with the Senate and the President that are already prepared to move forward. Fund the government and fund the FAA.
You mentioned TSA as well. I dare say there's probably room for more TSA agents and employees as well, as I see some of those lines backed up. So if they're not getting paid, I know people don't want to wait in line forever to go through security.
That's right. Whether we're talking about security lines or we're talking about airport delays, every day that a shutdown continues, you would likely see more disruptions and more situations where a particular airport would be short or not getting the support that it needs. By the way, this is on top of the work that we're doing to improve the airports in the first place. You take a place like Love Field. We're funding improvements to the instrument landing system there. That's a critical piece of safety equipment and something that, when it's upgraded, will improve operations at the airport. The goal is to get that done by Thanksgiving, but no way we can guarantee that if we get shut down in our work. And I got to emphasize the urgency of getting this done, because even a short disruption, again, ripples through the system for days. And remember, we're having record travel right now. We've set an all-time high this summer in terms of passengers getting on airplanes. People want to be flying. They're buying those tickets. They're boarding those airplanes, which means there's going to be more, not less, need for TSA officers, air traffic controllers, and everybody else who's part of that system.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Secretary, in the past when this has happened, it has in fact been the air traffic controllers who pretty much made the case for the shutdown to end, and Republicans in Congress had to respond. You just can't have planes stalled. Members of Congress have to travel as well. Really, your shop and the air traffic controllers really are the ones that may end up having to say, look, this can't go on.
That's right. Look, I would hope that the idea that service members, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, stop getting paid in a shutdown, I would hope that would be motivation enough for members of Congress to get their job done. But if that's not motivation enough, maybe them seeing the flight impacts, since they're frequent flyers, is what it would take. I just think we can and should avoid all of this. And House Republicans really need to end this chaos and fund the government so that we're not even worrying about these things. There's plenty to keep us busy right now. In this administration. Congress has a lot of work to do. We're trying to make sure we deliver all these projects we have going on around the country. We're trying to improve transportation safety. We're trying to stay a step ahead of China. The last thing America needs right now is a politically driven Republican shutdown.
Lastly, can you give us an idea of what the average air traffic controller is thinking about right now, knowing that this might happen? What is an employee like that thinking about doing? What type of pressure or anxiety might they be under, not to mention the everyday pressure of just being an air traffic controller?
Well, put yourself in the shoes of these safety personnel like air traffic controllers. You get up, You come in the morning or maybe the middle of the night, depending on your shift, and you have enormous responsibility. You have a life and death responsibility to make sure that aircraft come and go safely. And because air traffic controllers and others in the system do that good work, we have an incredibly strong safety record as a country. Flying is actually the safest way to travel. That didn't just happen. That happened because these people are very good at their jobs. But imagine the stress that comes with that job on the best of days. And then imagine if, as you're getting into your position, taking your seat, putting on your headset, getting situated at your position, your computer, you're also thinking about the fact that you got a spouse and kids at home, and you don't know when the next paycheck's going to come in. There's just no good reason to subject them to that kind of stress. It's not right for them, and it's not good for the system.
And definitely not safe. Secretary Pete Buttigieg of the Department of Transportation. Secretary Pete, always a pleasure to speak with you. Hopefully this will be resolved. I think we have until midnight Sunday. Is that accurate?
That's right. Yeah, we have through the end of Saturday. It's the end of the month. That's the end of our fiscal year. And between now and then, Congress needs to do its job. It should never come down to the wire like this. But now that it has, we really need them to sprint through the tape, reauthorize the FAA, fund the government, and get their job done.
Thank you, Secretary Pete, for joining us on Make It Plain, as always.